Hello and welcome to Digby's Longsword chat or whatever. I'm going to tell you a little bit about 3 different types of longsword and how they were used differently, and yes, well, let's get on to it. Alright, so the first one is going to be from the most latest century, which this was used in the 12th and 13th century. It is a warsword longsword, a big two-handed sword. Also, this could be suffice, and yes, it is a very, very big sword. Not heavy, easily wielded in one hand, as everyone thinks that these swords are ridiculous and you have to, which is ridiculous. Not heavy, but as you can see, it tapers to a very thick point still. And this sword is a primary hacker or cutting weapon. Can thrust still, but yes, this thing is just meant to cleave through. The armour of that period, I think, was just chainmail, and this could easily go through chainmail. Maybe one hit takes apart the chainmail, and the second hit, well, bye-bye enemy. So yes, that is a 12th century longsword, and in the typology it is a type 13A, so that is in the Oakenshield typology 13A sword, and that is the actual classification of what the name is of this sword, 13A. Because in the medieval time period they would not actually call this one's a bastard sword, this one's a long sword, and this one, no, that's all nowadays categorizing. They would just say all these were swords, or long swords, because they were longer than a short sword. The next period type is more towards the 14th century and early 15th century. This is a German longsword, double ring-guarded longsword, and as you can see now the blade is getting shorter and thinner, so now it's sort of still for the cut in this time period, but now it is starting to be more for the thrust as well, for the chinks in the armour. This sword is, I'd say, around about still the same, but these are all made by different manufacturers, that's why. So these all could be the same in weight and all of that, but they're made differently. But this one is around about the same as the last one in weight-wise, but still easily used in one hand. So the myth of, medieval European swords being ridiculously heavy and just chopping, they didn't even need to be sharp, and they just hack through with their force like a, hammer or something, is total bullshit. So yeah, and that one in the Oakenshield typology is a 16A blade, so this would be known as a 16A in the Oakenshield. So yes, okay, this final one is a controversial blade. This is the legendary bastard sword, long sword. So, but this would just have been like, oh, you don't want to use your bigger long sword, well, this is a littler long sword. So, but nowadays we call them bastard swords. Still two-handed, but as you can see, the two-hand grip compared to the 12th century one is quite different. And less and less, it's getting littler. This is nippy. This is very, very nippy. It wants to very quick blade, but as you can see, the taper has gone to pardon me, has gone from being this thick blade to a fine point, and this one you can half sword with this and get into the chinks of armour. And yeah, the cutting with this is reasonable, not as easy as the last two cutting with this, but it still is a very, very well cut. this one is from England, I'm pretty sure. And this one actually is a museum copy. So there you go. And this one in the Oakenshield typology is a type 15A, or bastard sword. So yes, these are 3 different categories of longsword. These are all long swords, but you know, they would call this one maybe a, you know, hand and a half. You know, this one's a bastard sword, and this one is a two-handed sword. Well, that is all just bull. These are all just called long swords, or sword. So there you go. If you like this, comment and you know, review and yada yada. I should hopefully be bringing out test cutting with one of these in the near future. Otherwise, this is Digby Triple D with another interesting